Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I've got a HP 15AU series here, and we're going to do just general overhaul and maintenance on this thing. So main issue it's come in for is it's reporting a fan error, which is really common on HP laptops. The fans, either the fan dies or the fan RPM sensor dies or something dies and the fan becomes intermittent, and when you turn it on you get an annoying message going, there's no fan running or something like that. Let's see if it does it now. There we go. System has detected that the cooling fan is not operating correctly. The noise I can hear is the hard drive, I think. Either a bloody noisy hard drive or the fan is running, who knows. And it turned off, yeah. So you can get the computer to start by pressing F1 to continue, but obviously if the cooling fan is gone, shouldn't really be running the laptop. It'll work in a pinch, but you're asking for trouble. But yeah, so we want to replace the fan. At the same time, we're also going to replace the palmrest or top case because it's all cracked up here and this hinge is going to break. It's already cracked up and the hinge is almost certainly going to fail at some point in the near future. So we're going to change that guy out as well. And then lastly, just for good measure, I'm also going to stick an SSD in it because never not SSD. So I've got a Crucial MX500 here. Remember people, if you're doing general repairs for people or you're running a computer shop, upsell SSDs to your customers because it's not going to cost them a huge amount extra to throw in an SSD. You make a little bit extra money on it, but more importantly, your customer's going to love you because yes, they've got to pay out money for the repair on the computer. However, as soon as they turn it on and they see that 10-second startup time, they're going to say, good grief, that guy is a wizard. My computer is so fast now, he was brilliant. So it makes the customer your best friend the moment they turn the computer on and feel that SSD speed. So yeah, easy extra money, easy way to make your customers love you. Right, so the first thing we've got to do is strip this down, take all the bits out. We've got to get the hard drive out of this so then I can stick it in my computer back there and image it and get that imaging. Then while it images, we'll swap out the fan. Let's get into it. So this thing is already missing a couple of screws on the bottom, which has probably contributed to things breaking. So if you're wondering why there's screws missing, they were already missing. Let's take the rest of them out. I need better screwdrivers. Right, let's do a quick screw check under this little cap here. HP love hiding screws. Nope, there's nothing there. It's just a mold mark. A mold dimple. I guess, anyway. There we go, put that back on. I will also check underneath this rubber foot for extra screws. There's lots of exposed screws on this HP, but HP love hidden screws. There's one. That was just... oh well. Anyone else? Nope, just that. Okay. Put that down there. Right, we'll just carefully open this up now. I'm going to slide my thumbs down to the front of the display assembly so I can lift the hinges directly. Oh, that didn't actually do me any favours. Doesn't matter, we're replacing this broken stuff anyway. I think we might have screws underneath the DVD drive. I'm just going to check. Nope, there's none there. Ooh, there we go. So yeah, just to confirm, there's nothing broken on this bottom case here, because this thing is, it does give a little bit of structural support just because there are screws going through it, but it's not the main support in this laptop. That is all handled by the top case or the palm rest, which is all here, and that guy's just going to be smashed into the Stone Age. Or is it the left side? No, it's that side. The right side probably isn't far behind if the left is gone. Okay, let's immediately, we'll disconnect the battery and we'll take the display assembly off. Picking up bits of plastic as I go. And it looks like the battery needs to come out as well in order to move the display cable. So let's take that out. And we'll grab these antenna cables over here. And now hinge screws, or what's left of them. Okay, there's our display assembly off, so I can put this to one side now. We'll clean everything up later when we're reassembling. I always clean up as I reassemble in general. I don't clean up beforehand because it's good to see where dust and dirt is, because it tells you stories as you open it up. So, like, if I'd cleaned this all out and everything, I wouldn't see how much dust was on the fan, so I wouldn't have any idea of how much dust had been in the computer and stuff like that. It's good not to erase things until you've seen them. Right, so we've got to strip all of this down to put it onto the new palm rest. But before we do that, I'm going to drop this hard drive out so I can start backing that up. And then we can get that restoring onto a SSD. So I'm going to quickly plug this into my backing up machine that's behind me. I've done videos that show how I do this before. There's lots of ways to image drives. I'm not going to go through it in this video because I've gone through it before. My method is to use Drive Snapshot. It's not the best method, which is another reason why I'm not going to go through it right now. I have been using Clonezilla a lot recently, though, and I've taken a liking to Clonezilla at the moment. I'm not fond of the interface because it's a live boot environment and it's a weird mix of UI and command line. However, it's simple, effective, and seems to be pretty quick. So Clonezilla is one of my current favorites for cloning drives to each other. So anyway, I'm going to get this backing up and going on to the SSD. While that runs, I'm going to carry on disassembling this now. So I'll disconnect any and all wires going to the motherboard and take that out next, I think. And then I'll be able to match up the palm rest with my replacement one to see how many of the fittings and such like also need to come out as well. I know that my new palm rest has already got a trackpad on it and stuff like that, so we don't need everything, but we will need all of these extra bits like USB ports, power button board. We've got a fingerprint sensor over here by the looks of things, that kind of thing. Actually, does the replacement one have the fingerprint sensor? Huh. Is that NFC maybe? What's written on it? Not sure. It's Intel 384A. I'm an idiot. It's an SD card reader. We'll need that. Right. Okay, I think that's all of those things. So let's now pull out any screws that are here. Just going to double check I've got the right fan, which I do. That's great. So, oh wow. Oh, that fan's jammed solid. Something's scraping badly there. Ooh. It freed up when I got it moving again, but that felt like a bag of nails. So there's a couple of things that could have happened is obviously when it comes to cooling fans like this, it's not unheard of that someone has hit the keyboard or they've applied pressure on top of the keyboard and they've pressed in the top housing of the fan and jammed the rotor. But they're pretty tough, these things. You've got to press down a lot to jam that, and even then it springs back. So I doubt that's it. It's moderately dusty. I've seen a lot worse. I think they just, I don't know why, I think HP just have crap fans in them, because I've replaced more HP fans than on any other brand by a long shot. The rotor feels a little bit wobbly as well. You can see that wobble. That's never a good sign. By comparison, the new one just feels completely fine. So, yeah, I don't know. Just usage, I guess, maybe. But, yeah, either way, that's getting chucked out. Are we ready to take off the motherboard? Not quite. We've got a couple more screws to come out. Alright, I think that's everyone. And we're going to have the... Oh, the DC jack goes under the Wi-Fi card. I'm just going to quickly give this a little pry down here just to pop that out. There we go. And we've got that underneath there. There we go. And there's our motherboard. How much RAM is on here? 8 gigs. That's fine. Single channel memory, but 8 gigs single channel for just a desktop laptop that a client is using, it's fine. Yeah, you could probably get more out of it by going dual channel and stuff like that, but it's fine, basically. You always have to ask your question, is it fit for purpose? And the answer to that is yes, basically. Okay, this is kind of dusty on the bottom, so I'll give that a brush down. But other than that, no cause for concern here. There's no big old splotches where there's been liquid ingress anywhere. So yeah, this guy's fine. Okay, so here's my replacement one. So I need the speakers, I need the I/O boards, but I don't need any fittings or anything like that. So speakers and I/O boards. Luckily, this laptop is using pretty much the same screws everywhere, except for the display screws, which are slightly bigger. So I'm not having to keep very careful track of what screws I'm taking out. Just make a big old pile of them. Little speakers. SD card reader. All of this needs brushing, so we'll clean it all up as we go back, as we reassemble. USB and audio board. And the power button. Do we need the power button as well? No, we're good. Right, that's it. We're fine there. So my replacement one, I sourced this from eBay. I did see options for it with and without the keyboard, with and without the trackpad. The trackpad was the one that I bought came with the keyboard and trackpad. I definitely wanted to go for one that came with a new keyboard because A, the keyboards on these are an animal to fit because they're heat staked. I've got videos on how to approach these heat staked keyboards, and you can absolutely repair them or replace them rather. It's just a horrible job. So for paying a little bit extra, A, we don't have to fit the keyboard, and B, the customer gets a nice shiny new keyboard as well, which is also nice because it means, again, when they get the laptop back, it's going to feel really nice. And that's the thing. The sucky part about computer repair, which is a really great thing that, this was a really great point that Lewis Rossman once made in one of his videos, is the worst part is that the customer is having to pay a large amount of money just to get back what they previously had. And that's the sucky part, is you're having to charge them a load of money just so they can have back what they already had. So if you can deliver them back a laptop that is significantly better or nicer than it was before, then when they get it back, they suddenly feel like they've gotten something for their money. Like, yeah, they had to pay out for the repairs, but now it feels and looks great. So that's kind of what my objective is with laptops. It's not just what can we do to fix this laptop, but what can I do to make it better than it was? And, obviously you have to draw a line somewhere as to how far you're going to go with that. In, many of my videos, I often have comments from people saying, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And the answer to that is usually because A, I have to draw a line somewhere for what I'm being paid to do and what I'm not being paid to do. But also, there are plenty of things where I have disagreements with people over what I think is actually going to make a meaningful difference to the customer experience. There are some things which you can do, but probably aren't going to change the customer experience, in which case, arguably, you're wasting your time. But again, it's incredibly subjective as to what those are. So, you know, it's up to you how far you want to go. You know, there's some people who will do absolutely everything within their power. But there's other times where it's a case of, yeah, I wouldn't. Ugh. Right, I'm going to put this motherboard in. And then, yes, I will absolutely be replacing the thermal paste on this one. I infamously usually don't do thermal paste unless I have a reason to believe that it needs doing. And this is a really good example of that because, remember, the cooling fan on this thing hasn't been running. Therefore, this computer's probably been running real hot. And therefore, we have a reason to believe that the thermal paste is probably cooked. So this is one of those times where I'll absolutely check the thermal paste because I have a reason to believe that it needs replacing. So yeah, let's get this guy fitted and then it's a bit easier to manage. I need the trackpad cable, trackpad wire. Also, I noticed the way this keyboard flex is bending here. They've got it going straight out, which explains why this keyboard flex is feeling a little bit weird here. So if you look at this, let me just disconnect this because this is all wrong. Whoop. So this one, when they assembled this, they have removed the tape and taped it down there. But on this particular laptop, we don't actually want that there. So I'm going to peel that back and have that out there. And then they're using that fold there to shorten the cable. So I'll put that roughly in there. It doesn't need to be exact. Once the motherboard is in place, it'll all sort of squash in. That trackpad cable goes in there. There we go. That's a lot more like what it should be. I prefer it when the motherboard is absolutely locked in place before I connect cables, but sometimes it's a good idea to plug stuff in just so you know it's not going to fall under and it's held in place where it needs to be now. So I'm hooking all these up and then I can just settle it into place and know that none of the wires are trapped underneath or anything like that. Right, I have a horrible feeling I needed to put the speakers in first, so let's get those sorted right now. Yes, I did, but it's okay. We can ease those into position. Couple of screws into the motherboard. And I know which holes need to be repopulated because there's big old arrows pointing at them. All of the holes that don't have arrows pointing at them, we don't populate those because those are going to have screws coming in from somewhere else. So for example, these ones around here, these ones are not marked because the fan goes over the top of that. So the actual motherboard only has 2 screws holding it in, and then once everything else is in, more screws come in from on top of other components. New fan. It's worth noting, if we weren't replacing the palm rest, if we were just doing the fan, you'd also want to make sure that you dust out the old keyboard pretty good, because these laptops do a lot of intake through the keyboard. Well, this particular one, not so much, I have to admit, but a lot of the time there's a bigger cutout here. They've got a slight cutout, and you can see there's dust around underneath that key where it's been sucking in through the keyboard there. But yeah, it's quite common to have a fairly large cutout here, and the laptop is primarily drawing in air through the keyboard. I shouldn't need to tell you why that's a terrible, terrible idea, but this is why HP consumer laptops are bad. I don't like slating things. However, if I don't, who will? Okay, right. Let's take that CPU cooler off. That's probably fine. However, now we've removed it, we'll replace it. But yeah, it's still tacky. It hasn't gone solid everywhere, so it was probably fine. I've been using up, just simply because I have it, for no reason at all, got this really old bottle of Akasa Tim Clean. There we go. So this is really old thermal paste removal stuff, and it's citrus based, so it smells jolly nice. It's all lemon fresh. But the only problem with it is that it's a citrus based solvent rather than alcohol, I believe. Ingredients, detergents, regulation. I don't know. Hydrocarbons. That's alcohol, isn't it? I don't know. Either way, the problem with it is it doesn't evaporate like using just isopropanol does. So while it's very effective, you need to be a bit careful how liberal you are with it. Always apply it onto the tissue or cloth you're using, because otherwise you end up with it everywhere and it doesn't evaporate. It was pointed out to me on a recent video I did. I think it was when I was overhauling another HP. I put thermal paste on the PCH, which is this smaller die here. That's an onboard PCH. So the Northbridge chipset, as some might know it. And someone was just like, oh, you're not supposed to put thermal paste on there. That's why it's not on there in the first place. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you? It's more cooling, right? And they pointed out that, of course, if the CPU dies at 100 degrees, say at 80 or 90 degrees, then obviously your cold plate is going to be at approximately, near to 80 degrees. Not quite that hot, because there's going to be a lot of delta across the interface. But still, this guy is going to be very hot. And the cool plate might be transferring heat out of the CPU core and into the PCH, which is why on some laptops there's no thermal interface between the PCH and the cold plate. And I was just like, it never occurred to me. So in this case, I'm putting thermal paste on because this one did have thermal paste there already. However, my current rule of thumb is if it was pasted out of the factory, then I'll paste it again. If it wasn't pasted out of the factory, then we don't put thermal interface on the PCH. So yeah, there might be, you might be able to look up datasheets to find out if you're supposed to add it or not. However, I'm just going to follow what the OEM did. If the OEM pasted the PCH, then I will. If they didn't, then I won't. There we go. It's a nicely repasted CPU. Cool. Right. We are ready for a display assembly. And my disk copy is nearly done, so I'm going to carry on reassembling. I'm just brushing all of the dust off of everything before I put it back on the laptop, just so we're not adding dust back in. Then the display will get a nice proper wipe down when we're done. Let's move to the edge of the desk. Right, and I want one screw on each side just to locate things in place. Okay, and we'll tweak these up by hand because they're display screws. Okay, and I'm going to put my fingers on the hinges just to bend the display close, because even though we've got brand new mounts there. This thing's really fragile, man. And if I just tried to open that by hand, I'd just rip that in half. We need the bottom case on there to add in the rest of the structural rigidity. So be super careful when handling the laptop while it's open like this. It's really easy to accidentally break mounts. I'm very much going to try and get this thing closed up as soon as I can. Right, that's in place. What have I got left on the bench? I've got the battery. The battery's ready to go in because the display assembly's on. And the wireless antennas. Right, I'm going to very carefully close this so I'm not hanging off the end of the desk. Right, the hard drive is finished copying. I'm going to swap that out for our new SSD. So I've taken a backup of the customer hard drive. I'm now going to clone that onto this guy. Imaged SSD acquired. So we've now got to put these rails on the side of it. Let's start with that. That goes on there, which tells me that goes in that way around. So the rails don't go like that. There we go. So now those tangs can slot into those slots. There we go. That looks much more convincing. Drive connected. Good. Right, we are now ready to close up. Get the back panel. Oh, I've got a screw in the wrong place. Good job. This guy's not supposed to be there. And I should have known that because there's an arrow pointing to this hole. There we go. Like I bought one. Right, let's turn that on and hopefully my SSD imaging worked. Normally I'd turn it on and just make sure it boots before I put all the screws back in. I forgot this time, so it's probably going to punish me. Right, BIOS CMOS checksum is valid. That's fine. I popped out the BIOS battery while I was working on it to check the voltage. There we go. A few marks on this LCD panel already that won't shift, but that's okay. It looks a lot better than it did. Right, there we have it, everyone. That is one refurbished HP. There's a tiny few marks on it that I'm going to just gently detail over, but I'll do those off camera because it'll add another 10 minutes to the video. It's really annoying. Anyway, we're all finished. This thing is going to be super fast. It needs a software service as well, so I'll log into this and I will install latest Windows updates, latest build of Windows, check the antivirus, all of that song and dance. However, all of the hinges are fixed up. It's got a super quick SSD in it, and it actually has cooling now, which is also a good thing. So past that, thank you very much for watching. As always, my support links are down in the description below for my Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and Patreon. And remember, if you liked this video, hit the like button because it tells YouTube that you like seeing these videos and it'll give you more of them. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.